A nice crowd joining us, and so some of my comments will be obviously tailored to those who are here, but I'd also like to make a special welcome to those who are joining us on 97.9 WXEF live for tonight's forum. Just for a little housekeeping before we get going, my name is Eric Zeller, and I will serve as tonight's moderator. And tonight's event is sponsored by the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate their support and always put together a nice forum so the public can understand the positions of our candidates and get to know them better, as well as the Effingham Elks. Thank you to the Elks for having us out tonight. So thank you to our sponsors. Our questions tonight came to us from our media partners here in Effingham. All of the media contributed to the questions, and I want to make sure everyone knows who those are. Norma from the Chamber of Commerce, she's the president and CEO of the Chamber, was on the question committee. Jeff Long, the editor of the Effingham Daily News. Herb Meeker is a reporter with the Effingham Teutopolis News Report. Greg Sapp is the station manager with Premier Broadcasting. And Dustin Osteen is the news director for Cromwell Radio Group. So they came up with the questions for tonight's forum. A little bit about how we're going to conduct the forum. There are two sessions this evening. We're going to start with the mayor's session. So we will have 10 questions, provided our time allows. And each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question. And by order of draw, we have chosen closing statement as well as who will answer the first question. So at the conclusion of our 10 questions, there will be an opportunity for a 2-minute closing statement. And by order of draw, that will go in the order of Jeff Blumker going first, Scott Ely going second, and Mike Schutzbach rounding out our closing statements. And so our first questions will roll in reverse order of that. I'd like to take a minute and share the bios that were submitted by our mayoral candidates, give you a chance to get to know them better. And in alphabetical order, we'll start with Jeff Blumker. Jeff is a third-generation Effingham resident, a graduate of Effingham High School and Eastern Illinois University. Jeff has 30 years of senior management experience, having served at executive levels for Agricel Incorporated, Mid-America Motor Works, Heartland Human Services, and the Illinois Department of Corrections. He is also actively engaged in community service, having served on the City Planning Commission, City Zoning Board of Appeals, EIU's Business School Advisory Board, County Board of Health, Effingham County Chamber Board of Directors, the Noon Rotary Club, and the Unit 40 Education Foundation. Jeff is married to Nancy, and they have 3 children, Katie, Sarah, and Jack, and he is the son of JT and Cheryl Blumker. And Jeff has served as Effingham mayor for the past 4 years. That is mayoral candidate Jeff Blumker. Our next candidate is Scott Ely. Scott is a private attorney with offices in downtown Effingham. He has served the area as a licensed attorney since 1993, served 2 years as an assistant state's attorney under Brian Kibler, and is a former adjunct professor of state and local government at Lakeland College. Among his many community involvement activities, Scott served as chairman of the Effingham County Mental Health Board for many years and serves annually as the Master of Ceremonies for the Effingham County Humane Society's annual fundraiser. He and his wife serve together in many volunteer activities, including serving as wish granters for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Relay for Life, and the Effingham County Vision 2020 Alliance for a Healthier Effingham County, as well as St. Anthony Church. Scott's wife, Susan, is a dietitian at HSHS St. Anthony's Memorial Hospital, and they have 5 children. That is mayoral candidate Scott Ely. Rounding out our mayoral candidates is Mike Schutzbach. Mike is retired as chief of police for the city of Effingham, having served the Effingham Police Department for over 30 years. He is a graduate of St. Anthony High School and graduate from Lakeland College and Western Illinois University with degrees in law enforcement administration. He is a graduate of the University of Illinois Police Training Institute, Northwestern University's Executive Management and Public Safety School, as well as the FBI National Academy. He has also taught law enforcement courses at Lakeland College. Mike is a member of St. Anthony Church and the Effingham Elks Lodge. He is also a member of several professional organizations, including Illinois and International Associations of Chiefs of Police, Effingham County 911 Board, Effingham County Youth Commission, and the Mid-States Organized Crime Information Center, the Illinois State Review, among many others. Mike has been married to Crystal for over 30 years, and they have 2 adult sons, Andrew and Justin. He is the son of Jerry and Marcy Schutzbach, and that is mayoral candidate Mike Schutzbach. So go ahead and get into questions here. And our first question, if I can, I know they're up here. Our first question will be directed just to my right here, candidate Mike Schutzbach. Please tell us about yourself and why you chose to run for public office.
With over 30 years of service to the Effingham Police Department, including 13 as Chief of Police, I'm proud of my public service record, and I have dedicated my professional life to serving the people of Effingham. I would like to continue to serve as mayor. As Chief of Police, I managed the police department, which included creating a balanced budget, overseeing daily duties of the department, and working with other departments and organizations to ensure our department was performing efficiently and effectively. The position of mayor requires a strong community leader, and I know I have what it takes to be that leader. I am prepared to take on the tough challenges and to work with other entities to make Effingham a great place to live, work, and play.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
I'm Scott Ely. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to be running for mayor. I have grown up pretty much in the city of Effingham, on Mulberry Street as a kid, on Jefferson Street, went to Effingham High School. I remember our mayors, Mayor Martin, Mayor Teese, and several others. And they were always very benevolent people who seemed to care what you thought, and they were willing to talk with you, speak with you, whomever you were, no matter what you were doing, even if you were some goofy kid hanging around at IGA. I think right now there's a disconnect between city government and the regular folks of Effingham. This disconnect wasn't there with the previous mayors. I'm someone people see on the streets. People can easily speak to me in the same way that they've spoken to past mayors. I have ideas that I felt weren't being heard, and I want an opportunity for everyone to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
As a third-generation Effingham resident, I live and breathe Effingham. I love Effingham. I tried to move away right after college, and I had to come back. My dad always says, once you drink from Little Wabash, you can't ever leave Effingham, and quite frankly, I think there may be something to that. But in my adult life, I've been heavily involved with civic activities, and that has just fortified that love for Effingham. The two that really it spurred my interest to get into city government was spending time on the Plan Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals, where we conducted hearings relative to land use, and people would come in and share their dreams and vision with how they wanted to make Effingham great. So being involved with those types of, getting that taste of government activity, as well as recalling that the previous mayors from Effingham usually came from the business community, and so I wanted to represent the business community at City Hall, and would like 4 more years to do the same.
Thank you, Jeff. Our second question will be led off by Scott Ely, and that question is, please outline what you feel are the 2 most pressing issues facing the city.
I think, and this is a difficult one of our areas of disconnect is what I would refer to as salary bloat in the city of Effingham. It affects our taxpayers. Salary affects pension. Pension affects property taxes. The second highest segment or item on your property tax bills is city pension. 1 out of every 5 employees of the city of Effingham, and as I look out and I see many employees, and they're wonderful people, but more than 1 out of 5 city employees right now is raking in compensation of more than $100,000 a year. That's too much. things have to change. And I'm going to be part of that process, hopefully, and I would be the person who would have the difficult job of saying no to some of these requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jeff?
Just to tag on to that, I believe there may be some misinformation. I don't believe 1 in 5 city employees make over $100,000 a year, and I think any mayor or anyone that gets involved in the city council is going to find out that their compensation is tied very closely to our state statute. So you have very little to do about it. Two things that we need to correct clearly are housing. We need employment housing in Effingham. We're going to address that quickly here with a residential TIF in the blighted areas, where we can encourage developers and home builders to come in and build new houses, new apartment complexes, new duplexes in the older areas. Then we'll also find some green fields where we can try to develop some new subdivisions, and those subdivisions may be dedicated to the likes of modular homes, because those fit the affordable housing description that came out of our recent town hall meeting.
Thank you, Jeff. And Mike?
Throughout my campaign for mayor, I've highlighted several priorities that I plan to focus on as mayor, with the number one priority is to keeping property taxes in check. I have extensive experience managing a conservative budget, and I will preserve the priorities of residents while maintaining the city's financial stability. I also hope to create an open dialogue between the residents of the city of Effingham and City Hall.
Thank you, Mike. Our third question will be led off by Jeff Blumker. And that question is, as mayor, what do you view as your role in leading the city government team and directing strategic initiatives for future growth and success? Jeff?
The mayor of the city of Effingham is the chief advocate. You're the chief sales representative. It's your job to represent City Hall and the people of Effingham 24/7 at all times. You're also the CEO of what's going to be an $80 million corporation. So you better understand how to lead people, how to do everything from moderate meetings to build budgets. My background in business lends itself quite well. I've found the past 4 years has been very helpful in terms of, because I've been leading people for the past 25 plus years in a variety of business circumstances, and it's played over quite well at City Hall. And again, I'd like 4 more years to carry on with the organizational structure we have.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike?
The role of mayor, I believe, you must have the ability to work respectfully with others, to listen to concerns of everyone, and to help solve problems. I understand also the importance of financial stability. So being a leader, I will make sure that the city stays financially stable and taxpayers don't have to bear the burden of extensive taxes. I also believe that a mayor needs to be easy to get along with, and they need to be confident in stressful situations.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
Thank you. First of all, going back to a previous question that pertains to this question, you have to be honest. You have to put it all out there, the information that you have. The city of Effingham does that, and that's where I got the information about compensation rates in the city of Effingham, and I did the math for myself with last year's budget. The compensation rates were this: more than 1 out of every 5 city employees takes in total annual compensation of more than $100,000. Go to the website, check it for yourself. It's last year's budget. A difference between prior mayors and our current administration is that folks like Clyde Martin and Jack Teese ran their own businesses. They spent their own money. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to manage your own budget, and it's not easy. So while Mr. Blumker may have experience managing other folks' money, he doesn't have the experience that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our fourth question will be led off by, we're back around, and we'll lead off with Mike. And This question's a little easier. During the previous 12 months, how many city council meetings have you attended in person or watched online?
I have watched every city council meeting online for the last year, probably longer.
And Scott?
I have watched most of them, although I have occasionally experienced trouble with the city's website. Additionally, I've been in person to 2 of the meetings recently. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
Past 4 years, I think I've missed 2 city council meetings. I had a pretty good I had a perfect record going for the first 2 years, and then I became ill at one. Another one, I ended up having to travel. So missed 2 city council meetings in the past 4 years.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And question number 5 will be directed to Scott. And do you support providing financial incentives for new and existing businesses seeking to grow and locate in Effingham? Please explain your answer.
Yes, I absolutely do support providing incentives to new businesses, but that is a sticky wicket. We have to be careful. We have to support the people who are supporting Effingham right now, and we can't step on their toes by giving special favors to folks who don't want to come here unless they get an amazing situation that's not available to our people who are here now. By the way, that also applies to city hiring. I am not in favor of hiring folks who don't commit to being residents of the city of Effingham or paying them exorbitant salaries. We have persons who are, again, in this high compensation area that have not committed to the city of Effingham nor committed to even the county of Effingham. We have to favor our own folks. We have to support the folks who support us and who commit to our area without being given special things.
Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
Incentivizing businesses to locate in Effingham or develop internally, organically here in Effingham is kind of it's a special balance. I think at one time we spent maybe too much effort on trying to attract businesses globally. And you still have to do that because, and you have to have all the tools that we have here in Effingham, an enterprise zone, business districts, TIF districts, things like that. And you have to get out there and do some hard selling to get them to consider moving to Illinois. But the other thing, I just attended a rural economic development conference in Springfield, and an interesting aspect of that was to take some of that effort and resources that you put in global recruiting and put it into your local economy. And I think that's a very cogent point, and I'm looking at bringing this person who is the author of the book and was the speaker to Effingham. I've been working with the Chamber of Commerce to look at doing that here maybe this summer, because I think that's a very important thing to do. Invest in your local businesses. It's heavier than you might normally, and that organic growth will pay dividends for you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Mike?
I too believe that we need to invest in our local businesses. We need to recruit from outside the area, looking at larger employers. If businesses succeed in Effingham, everyone succeeds. The employee succeeds, the city succeeds, and the taxpayer succeeds because others assist in the bearing of the burden of our taxes. So I am very supportive of the business districts, the enterprise zones, economic development in any way that we can move it forward in the city.
Thank you, Mike. And that concludes our question number 5, and we're midway through our questions for the mayoral candidates, and I want to make sure that everybody who's listening online, you're catching this live, but also you're going to have an opportunity to catch several either tape delay or video delay in the future. So just so everybody's aware, Premier Broadcasting getting it live right now, and it will also be available via tape delay. Pay attention to 97.9 WXEF for when that will be available. As well, Cromwell Radio Group will have this available in video, as well as, I believe, Facebook, is what Dustin shared with me. So they will have that available on effinghamradio.com, so you can tune in there as well. And finally, the Chamber is going to have this available on their YouTube channel, and you can find it at the Chamber website at effinghamcountychamber.com. So several opportunities to go back and listen to the responses from our candidates. They've taken a significant amount of time and preparation and energy, and it's not easy to be up here getting questions from that you have not seen before you got here tonight. So I appreciate and applaud the effort of our mayoral candidates. So thank you for being here. Question number 6. Leading this question off will be Jeff Blumker. What are your thoughts on the issue of affordable housing in the city, and do you feel work needs to be done to address this issue as a way to attract people to fill jobs in our community? Jeff?
I've spent the past 4 years visiting our local employers with our economic development team, and that's a recurring theme. Affordable housing, employment housing is a more apt term. Affordable housing gets into a whole different realm, and that's where it gets a little tricky. There are a lot of taxpayers that don't want to see the city get involved with subsidized housing. That's a little tricky. So employment housing, again, as I alluded to earlier, the solutions there are to create a residential TIF district in our blighted areas and go through gentrification in those areas, encouraging and incentivizing developers and home builders to build new residences in those areas, but then also look for greenfield opportunities. And that might require annexing more space into the city of Effingham, expanding our boundaries, but that focus may be on modular homes because that falls into that price range of, say, $150,000 for a single-family home.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And Mike?
Jeff has it mostly right. However, he's had 3.5 years to get there. I believe there's limited area for desired land development for affordable middle-class housing. Our city should work with organizations and developers to create additional land usage options for development. Housing has been a concern in the city, and although there's been several properties constructed in the city over the last few years, I know more can be done working cooperatively with banks, realtors, developers, construction companies, government bodies, and others in creating incentives to develop land for building affordable houses. By building new homes, we can welcome new residents in our community, which will result in a larger workforce and a creation of additional tax dollars.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
You know, you can't complain about people not wanting to take low-income jobs if you don't have affordable housing for those folks as well. Our recent Affordable Housing Forum was a hastily convened setting 33 days before the election. It was not well thought out. Affordable housing is also a legislative issue for the folks that we send to Springfield. They were in session. None of them were present for this meeting. One gem speaks volumes about the City Hall session. They were talking about affordable housing, affordable employment housing in the ballpark of $150,000 to $200,000. That puts a lot of our seniors in trouble and our lower to middle income folks. That's just totally unreachable for them. This was not an affordable housing forum. We need to have one. We also need to watch the legislation that is before the Illinois House Subcommittee on Property Taxes tomorrow. The legislature can give us some help on property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And question number 7 will be led off by Mike Schutzbach. And at any time, if a question needs to be repeated, please feel free to let me know. Question number 7 is, how would building relationships and staying connected with surrounding local units of government benefit the city?
It's a must. The city must get along with the county. There are two government bodies that must work together for the taxpayer. Currently, there are some difficulties running at large with the two bodies. So as it sits today, I believe there's minimal cooperation. That's something that needs to change for the betterment of our entire community.
Thank you, Mike. And Scott?
I agree wholeheartedly with Mike. The city and county don't get along. Too many things happen behind the scenes that affect what is reported on, that you only see the result. but you don't see why these things have happened. There is a lot of backbiting. There is a lot of there are problems between the city and the county. When I worked in county government for the state's attorney's office, we didn't have that situation, but we do now. Everybody who works in city government and county government knows it, and it's a real shame. It hurts our people.
Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
When I started my administration as mayor 4 years ago, I was very committed to creating a very good relationship with the county of Effingham, because it had been tenuous. Let's face it, the relationships in previous administrations had been tenuous. And I was very committed to paving that, because I had friends on the county board, still do. And we made some progress. I'll give you some examples of how we did it. Everyone knows the county was having trouble with an ambulance service. The people of Effingham said, we need better service. We were going to create our own city service. The county came to us and said, hey, don't do that. That could harm our negotiations with the current ambulance situation, so we backed off. Another situation was the sheriff's department came to us recently and said, hey, we can't afford to have an officer in the schools, a school resource officer. Can you help us out? We stepped up and took that over. As chief advocate for the city of Effingham, sometimes you have to make hard decisions that sometimes are counterintuitive with your other government offices.
Thank you, Jeff. And question number 8 will be led off by Scott Ely. And that question is, have you ever owned or managed a business where you met payroll, used a spreadsheet, or wrote a business plan? Scott?
Yes, I have managed my own business for 25 years, and meeting payroll and providing benefits is not easy. It's not easy when it's your own money, and someone who doesn't have that experience can't relate to it. When we're working in county government or city government, you're dealing with other people's money. So sometimes the folks who are in office don't give a proper respect to the fact that you're dealing with taxpayers' dollars. You're dealing with taxpayers' assets. You work for the people. It is their money, and you can't treat that lightly. Some of the perks that we have now, we didn't have before, and I'm not going to take some of those perks. We don't need a mayor's car. I'll walk. I'll ride my bike before I take a mayor's car. We don't need things like that. That's taking advantage, I think, of the taxpayers. I won't do it.
Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
Once again, I need to correct Mr. Ely on his facts. The mayor doesn't have a car. But let's get to the main point. Can you repeat the question again real quick?
The question is, have you ever owned or managed a business where you met payroll?
Every business I've worked for the past 25 years, I've been thrown into budgeting processes, anywhere from $15 million businesses up to $250 million businesses. And I don't think you can, nothing against the small business owner, more power to them, but it's very difficult to compare with doing a budget for a 1 or 2 person office and one that's $80 million like the city of Effingham with 150 employees. It gets very complicated, and you need to understand. You want to talk about how to make concessions. That's where you find that out, and this is where the true business skill and the business experience comes into play when you sit down with the city staff and try to make those difficult decisions in terms of how you can operate the city effectively under tight budget restrictions.
Thank you, Jeff. And Mike?
Well, I've got 2 things in regard to the current mayor's statement. Is over the last couple of days, I've had people sending me pictures via the text messages showing the mayor has a city car sitting in the front of his house. Also, the current mayor doesn't necessarily do payroll. I've worked for the city for 30 years, worked the police department for 13, and we actually did the payroll, myself and my secretary. So I've done that. Prior to the police department, I managed a local hotel, which was long before computers, where we hand wrote paychecks to our employees, and we actually used the calculator to figure out the taxes. So to the answer of your question is yes, I'm very familiar with how payroll and bookkeeping work. Done it for my entire adult life.
Thank you, Mike. And our ninth question will be led off by Jeff. How do you plan to keep in touch with residents to know what is needed from City Hall? Jeff?
4 years ago, when I started my administration, we started a mayor's blog, and that didn't get much response. The best we can do at this point is make ourselves available 24/7. I carry the mayor's cell phone 24/7. I respond to phone calls typically within 4 hours, respond to text messages almost immediately, respond to emails typically within 12 hours. So with the technology in our mobile society right now, you're constantly on the move, and we try to make those numbers available to people. When people call into City Hall, the city staff makes me aware of anything that might, of who they are and what's going on, and so we try to be as responsive as we possibly can. We have speakers cards every city council meeting. Residents can come in and access the city council in that manner as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike?
I plan to be a mayor that's going to be at City Hall to take the phone call when the phone call comes in. I also have thrown out to different groups that I've spoken with about the possibility of having a separate line, so to speak, to allow citizens to call in and voice their concerns, no matter what it may be, on a line which would be recorded at any time of the day. Similar to Shimkus's office, which many of us have used. If you have a problem, you can call his office, get his recording, and you can say, as I do many times, I don't expect a call back, but here's my problem.
Thank you, Mike. And Scott?
I agree with Mike. I've written this on my Facebook site that I would establish regular office hours for the office of mayor. People need to know their mayor is going to be present when they want to see their mayor, and they should have some kind of expectation of the mayor being present at City Hall. The folks at City Hall work for the city. They shouldn't have to be communicating with the mayor who is not present to let him know what's happening in his absence. I would establish regular office hours. And this is something that I've done and discussed with people, and that's another way I'm more accessible. I talk with people about these city government issues on my Facebook site. There are very few questions I have not addressed because I'm not afraid to talk one-on-one with the citizens anytime they want to do that. I've been doing nothing but that since last December. I've taken the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And our final question for the mayoral candidates will be led off by Mike. And that question is, in your view, what has the city done well over the last 4 years? And what has the city done poorly that you would change? Mike?
The city has hired exceptional workforce, dedicated to their positions and willing to go the extra mile no matter what is called upon them. What has the city not done so well? I believe there's a disconnect with the current mayor's office and those citizens who have minor problems, so to speak. The business community is well taken care of by the administration, and sometimes the little old lady or little old man that needs something addressed gets overlooked.
Thank you, Mike. And Scott?
I agree. We have some very wonderful city employees. I want to give a shout out in particular to Todd Hull, Economic Development Director for the city. We've had some great things happen out of that office and out of his leadership. So I appreciate very much what he has done. One thing we've done very poorly is we have no standards on our social media for the city. The City of Effingham Facebook site is comical. It has become a selfie site, and it doesn't provide information that the taxpayers should have. I had a post on that today, and I compared our site to the site by the Springfield mayor, who provides information and who stays out of the picture and is just dedicated to his city and the citizens of his city. First and foremost, the citizens come first. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And Jeff?
Going back to two quick items, anyone who tells you that anyone who hasn't spent time in the mayor's office with the city of Effingham, as busy as we are, and tells you they're going to spend time in City Hall is probably writing checks they can't cash. Relative to social media, the person in charge of building content for the type of social media that Mr. Ely's alluded to is his stepdaughter, Sasha Altoff, and so we have someone that's dedicated to that activity. What we've done well in Effingham, as Chief Schutzbach mentioned, we have a great staff. We have a very skilled staff. They're dedicated people. They're worth every penny we pay them. They do a fantastic job for us. We've done a great job with organizational development. We've done a great job of fueling our downtown area. We've rewritten various codes that help support that type of development. We now have events going on that have proliferated. We have more fundraisers than we ever have, I think, in Effingham, and it has to do with the focus we've taken and the rehabilitation of downtown. We spent $685,000 in my administration to help rehabilitate our downtown, and I think we all have seen the dividends that's paid.
Thank you, Jeff. And that concludes our questions from our media panel. At this time, I will open it up to our closing statements, and once again, they will have candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and by order of draw, the first closing statement will be given by Jeff Blumker.
First of all, thank you to the hardest working chamber in downstate Illinois for giving us this opportunity tonight. Folks, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to have served the people of Effingham as your mayor for the past 4 years. We are very proud of what we have accomplished together. Effingham has become the shining diamond in downstate Illinois. In fact, Site Selection magazine just came out with a list of the 50 most dynamic metropolitan areas in the U.S., and Effingham is number 29 on that list. That didn't happen by accident. The past 4 years haven't been easy, but I have enjoyed it. We have moved the needle, we have set the bar higher, and that was our intention from the get-go. We knew we weren't going to ride the fence. Give me 4 more years, and we'll keep this momentum going. If I win this election, I'll walk into City Hall on April 3rd and just keep the ball rolling. No downtime. Now, I need you to listen closely to this. We have made great progress in transforming the Effingham Police Department from version 1.0 to version 2.0. It has been 2 years of very hard work. Courageous decisions have been made. Accountability and compliance and community engagement have never been stronger at the Effingham Police Department. We need to take great care not to do anything that would undermine that fantastic progress. Effingham has too much to lose if our law enforcement can't keep up with our growth, and that is something you can believe in. Vote on April 2nd, and when you do, re-elect Mayor Jeff Blumker, because it's working. Your support will be very much appreciated. Thank you.
That was mayoral candidate Jeff Blumker giving his closing statement. And next on our closing statements will be Scott Ely. Scott?
First, the news that the city is touting about its new rating from this entity called Site Selection magazine. That actually is old news. It came out February 20th. It was a Walton Family Foundation study, basically having to do with cities in which Walmarts were located. It had to do with cities also between populations of 10 and 50,000. So I've been watching the news. You know that remark about the city's website, don't think for a minute that the mayor is not in charge and the mayor asks, and I don't know if it's a request or demand, but he has people take his picture. It's not about this mayor, folks. It is about our people, and that is what this race has to be about. I gave myself one primary note. It's all about our people. And I think you will find that if you elect me, for example, I would be very appreciative, and I would promote our people. And if businesses want to think about coming here, I'm going to tell them about our people. That Walk of Fame idea that you might read about in the back, it's not pie in the sky. It's a very cheap idea. But that idea is all about our people. We have to know our history. We have to salute our history. And we have to tell people about not the mayor. It doesn't matter who the mayor is. We have to tell people about the people of the city of Effingham and all the great accomplishments. How in the world do we get things like 5 Major League ball players essentially from the city of Effingham? It's a special community. How do we get somebody who writes songs for Madonna and Whitney Houston? How do we get people who rebuild a hospital after the tragic 1949 fire? It's all about our people. Thank you.
That was mayoral candidate Scott Ely giving his 2-minute closing statement. And for our final 2-minute closing statement, Mike Schutzbach.
I'm Mike Schutzbach, and I'm running for mayor of the city of Effingham. A great city is measured by the quality of the lives of the people who live in it. Now is the time for leadership grown out of taking on the city's toughest challenges and winning. That is what I've done as a police officer, an investigator, shift commander, deputy chief of police, and chief of police in this community for over 30 years. That's what I'll do as mayor. I grew up in this community. It's where I've learned that you get more accomplished when you work with people than when you fight with them. But it's where I also learned that you have to be prepared to take on the tough fights, and that making a real difference in people's lives is what matters most. I am motivated by the wish to serve the Effingham community and protect our quality of life. I have the skill, experience, long-time community involvement, and personal commitment to lead the city. I will work hard to preserve residents' priorities and the city's financial stability. I have always been financially conservative and will stand with the citizens of Effingham to stop the city from raising our property taxes. I will work with local businesses and assist them accomplishing their goals, utilizing public resources when it makes sense. I will work with local organizations to bring to the Effingham area more affordable housing. Most importantly, I will be the voice at the table for those who have elected me. My experience also includes managing a local hotel, employment as a court service officer, probation officer, and law enforcement instructor at Lakeland College. I have the experience where it counts, right here in my hometown. I'm proud of my public service work, but I'm not done yet. As mayor, I will offer new ideas for an ever-changing city. This is why I offer my candidacy for mayor of Effingham. I believe I have the lifetime experience that counts. Experience I will put to work for you. I ask for your vote April 2nd. Let's work together and make Effingham a great place to live, work, and play.
That was candidate Mike Schutzbach giving his 2-minute closing statement. And that concludes our mayoral candidate. I want to thank Jeff, Scott, and Mike. I appreciate your willingness to serve and willingness to put yourself out there and work towards making Effingham a better place. I appreciate all your comments tonight and appreciate you taking the time to share with the community a little bit about who our next mayor might be. So we will take a brief pause to get ready for our city council candidate. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Candidate forum, and our table has grown quite a bit from our 3 mayoral candidates to our 8 city council candidates. So we're not going to go any faster. We have 10 questions, but we're going to give everybody ample opportunity to provide their responses. But I do have 8 bios that I would like to read for everyone so we get to know our candidates. Starting down in alphabetical order to the crowd's left here is Don Altoff. Don is an Effingham native and graduate of St. Anthony High School and the Culinary Institute of America. He worked at the Ramada Inn in Effingham, World Color Press, and Forbes magazine before becoming a business owner. Don co-owned Popcorn Treats and Other Eats for 11 years and owned and operated Quiznos in Effingham for 10 years. Don has been a volunteer firefighter for 34 years, member of the Effingham County Board for 9 years, and is completing his 8th year on the Effingham City Council. He is actively involved in the creation of the Constructions Trades Education Curriculum, also known as CTEC, and promoting plans to revive the Hart Theater. Don's wife, Carol, is retired from Midland States Bank, and they have a daughter, Jamie, and son, Clint, and have 4 grandchildren. That is City Council candidate Don Altoff. To Don's left is Kevin Esker. Kevin is a graduate of St. Anthony High School, where he served as class president. He has a bachelor's degree in finance from Eastern Illinois University. Kevin has worked for Quad Graphics Petty Company for 33 years. He has been a member of the Knights of Columbus for 40 years. He is married to Kelly, and they have 1 daughter, Allison. Kevin is completing his first term as a member of the Effingham City Council. That is candidate Kevin Esker. Seated next to Kevin is Merv Gillenwater. Merv retired from the Illinois State Police after nearly 25 years, having served as criminal investigator, investigations commander, patrol commander, and commander of the Southeastern Illinois Drug Task Force. He has also served in the U.S. Army and worked for the Coles County Sheriff's Department for 7 years while attending college. Merv received his MBA from Eastern Illinois University with work towards a degree in sociology. He is a member of Centenary United Methodist Church, American Legion Post 120, and Loyal Order of the Moose. He works with the Lake Sarah Dam Run annually to support Special Olympics and is a member of the Effingham County Public Health Committee. Merv and his wife Pat have 1 son, Matthew, and 2 grandsons. Merv is completing his 8th year as a member of the Effingham City Council and also served 4 years as Effingham Mayor. That is candidate Mervyn Gillenwater. Seated next to Merv is Larry Meisenheimer. Larry is a retired high school guidance counselor at Effingham High School and former bus driver. He has also worked for the Effingham Park District and Kerner Distributors. He received his education degree from Eastern Illinois University and a master's from the University of Illinois. Larry is actively engaged in the community, volunteering at the Effingham Park District, Effingham Performance Center, Trek, and St. Anthony Schools. Larry is married to Lisa and have sons Andy and Tyler and a daughter Haley. That is City Council candidate Larry Meisenheimer. Seated to Larry's left is Jane Miller. Jane is a lifelong resident of Effingham County and a graduate of the Patricia Stevens Career College. She worked for the City of Effingham for about 20 years as a technical assistant in the Engineering and Public Works Department, assisting with the capital improvement budget and annual city audits. She served on the Labor and Management Insured Benefits Committee and was a chairman of the Wellness Committee. Jane's prior work experience included working for the city attorney and for a local state representative. She is a member of Centenary United Methodist Church and serves on the Church Council and Communion Committee. She is also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. Jane and her husband John have been married 45 years and have 2 children and 2 granddaughters. That is candidate Jane Miller. Seated to Jane's left is Libby Moeller. Libby is an Effingham native, graduated from St. Anthony High School, and received a political science degree from Eastern Illinois University. She works for the Juvenile Diversion Program, a part of the Effingham County Probation Department, and is also the marketing coordinator for Austin Mansion and Walnut Street Weddings. Libby served as executive director of CASA, Effingham County Court-appointed Special Advocates. She currently serves on the City Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. She is a board member of the 4th Judicial Juvenile Justice Council, and she has served in many volunteer capacities in the community through Rotary, the Unit 40 Education Foundation, HSHS St. Anthony's Community Advisory Board, and Donor Relations Committee. Libby and her husband Scott have owned their business for over 10 years. They are members of Centenary United Methodist Church, and Libby is on the Church Council Chair, where she is the Church Council Chair. They have 2 children, Tucker and Maggie. That is City Council candidate Libby Moeller. And seated to Libby's left is Hank Stevens. Hank works with Diedrich Bank in business development and has served on the bank's board for over 30 years. He is a prior member of the Effingham City Council and served as city attorney for 19 years. Hank has been involved in many of the city's major initiatives, including development of 3 TIF districts, the City-County Enterprise Zone, 4 railroad grade separation projects, and in recruiting and retaining a number of businesses and industries to the community. He is a past trustee of the Lakeland College Board, a founding director of the Effingham County Community Foundation, and has served a number of years on the Chamber's Legislative Committee. Hank and his wife, Debbie, have 3 children, and that is council candidate Hank Stevens. To Hank's left is Kevin Willis. Kevin is a retired city police officer and business owner. He serves as security director for J&J Ventures Gaming in Effingham, and he has served on the Ambulance Oversight Committee and on the board of directors at Effingham Country Club. Kevin is completing his first term as a member of the Effingham City Council. He and his wife, Dina, have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. That is City Council candidate Kevin Willis. So as I said, our format will be the same. We will have, we're going to try to make this easy and start down here with Kevin. We'll have 10 questions, 1 minute to respond, and we'll just move ourselves down the row. So our first question tonight, please tell us about yourself and why you chose to run for public office. Kevin?
You probably just heard it from you. Myself, again, Kevin Willis. I currently serving on the council. I've been a servant of Effingham for over 25 years, and I just wish to continue serving in the capacity of the commissioner for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Kevin. Hank?
Hank Stevens, and my reason for doing this probably isn't all that different from the reason I had, I hate to say 40 years ago when I first ran for the city council. The city's in my blood. Running for the council at that time was one of the best things I think I ever did. Began a career of, depending upon when you say it ended, of 30 plus years working for the city. I've been away from it, but still follow what's going on, and with the encouragement of some folks, I decided to give it another shot this time around.
Thank you, Hank.
40 years ago.
Did I say 40?
You said 40. I'm 40 years old.
Well, you
So this is this is a great segue. So I really want to broaden the representation on the city council, and I've always been civic minded, and I thought it's time that I put my name on the ballot and see if the city wants me to represent them. I've never been one to shy away from voicing a care or concern in the community. As many people know, Chief Schutzbach and Merv Gillenwater and others, when they were on the council and when they served, they were very open to answering my questions and my concerns, and I want to be open for other people in the community.
That was Libby Mueller. And Jane?
This question was asked of me numerous times, and especially after working with the city and for the city for 35 years, they all thought I was crazy. And why would I want to continue to be involved? But it's sort of like a child and watching them leave. Only you would be leaving them. And I've been involved. I've seen good things and I've seen bad things. And I just want to be a part of the decision-making process now. And I would look forward to that.
Thank you, Jane. Larry?
Actually, my journey to seek another term as a commissioner started right outside the building here. It was a hot, sunny evening, and I drive a school bus, and I had 40 sweaty kids on there, and we got stopped by a train on Banker Street. And I reflected on when I came to Effingham 40 years ago, you couldn't get anywhere without being stopped by a train. And I know what the city council meant in getting that done, and I kind of reflected on my previous term as commissioner, and I decided, you know, it was a lot of good things that happened. It's a good investment of your time, and it's something that really makes a difference in the community.
Thank you, Larry. Merv?
Some people have asked me why I want to run again, too, quite often, as a matter of fact. When I first retired from the Illinois State Police, I thought that was what I really wanted to do. After a year, I realized I couldn't. I had actually served the public so long that I didn't know what else to do. So we had one person that was going to retire from the council, and I decided that I would try to run for that position. The bad thing is we replaced the entire council. Everybody won that was running except for one, and I think Alan Harris is still here, and glad you got to stay on the council, Alan. But then I promised everyone that I was going to only run for one Then I ran for mayor, won that, loved it. But I had a few people telling me that they liked me, so I decided I better get out while it's good. But I couldn't completely get out, so I ran for city council again. Well, I now cannot quit. I've got to go one more term, and I promise you this is it. Thank you for giving me.
Thank you, Merv. Kevin?
I'm running for city council just for the same reason that I ran before. I love Effingham. I feel like you need to have good private business to run a city like a business, and working in the printing industry for as long as I have, it's a tough industry, and we're still going.
Thank you, Kevin. And Don?
Hi, my name is Don Altoff, and I just enjoy serving the people, and I enjoy working with the people. Somebody asked me a question, I try to beat on the employees up at City Hall all the time. I think they get tired of me being there, but I think that's our job, to find out why and answer the question for the people as soon as you can, and I think I do a very good job of that. And I really enjoyed it. I was 34 years of the firefighting, and being on the county board and stuff. I really enjoyed it, so I hope I get back on.
Thank you, Don. And our second question will be led off by Hank Stevens. And that question is, please outline what you feel are the two most pressing issues facing the city. Hank?
One of the things I think that served us so well over the many years that I was involved was the fact that we as a city reached out to other organizations, be they other public bodies, school district, county, Lakeland College, Park District, and worked collaboratively with them. And we did the same thing with the private sector. And I'm concerned, and there was some discussion about this earlier, as you heard, that is no longer the case. And I would like to do what I can to restore that great working relationship with the other taxing bodies. We used to meet with the county board chairman and vice chairman once a month with no agenda, just so that we knew what each other was doing. The other thing I'm concerned about is, and I'll talk later probably, but if you live in the city, you pay 30% more property taxes than someone living just outside the city, and I'm not sure that we're getting 30% more value for that, and I'd like to take a good look at that.
Thank you, Hank. Libby?
I would have to agree with Hank. That concerns me on that 30%, because so many people my age are living outside city proper, and it's very upsetting to me, because I've chosen to stay in the city and live here and reap the benefits, and I think there's a lot of benefits to be had for that. The other problem, I think we can always improve that relationship between the city and the county. And both have been very receptive when I communicate with them and when they answer their phones. It's wonderful communication, but I would love to get everybody on the same page and see what we can do going forward.
Thank you, Libby. And Jane?
I agree that the city and the county do need to work more closely together. It's not, a lot of county people complain because we want to raise a 1% sales tax or something, but they use our streets, we use our streets, everyone uses our streets, so we all need to pay. But I think there needs to be better communication with the county and the city, as well as the council with the city staff. The city staff puts in a lot of work. Having been a part of that, I remember what it takes to come up with information, to find the funding, to work with the budget. I remember all of that, and we need that communication with city staff, with the city, with the county, and also the integrity of the city needs to be improved. A lot of people have the wrong idea about the city, and we need to improve that.
Thank you, Jane. Larry?
I really think the two issues that I'd like to see addressed is affordable housing. It's a crucial need in our community, and I think we need to offer some of the same incentives to housing people that we do to business to come in the form of streets, sewers, water, and tax breaks in order to kind of boost the help within the city limits. If we don't have housing, there's no place for our new employees, and it kind of stifles growth. The second concern is economic development. That truly is a lifeline to our community. We've been on a roll here for a long time. We've had 3 great projects out by the interstate recently came to our town. J&J Gaming is growing. There's lots of good news economically in the community, but if we don't address the housing issue, it's going to kind of stifle that growth.
Thank you, Larry. Merv?
One of the primary needs that we have, and this is something that we are addressing. We've done so for the last 8 years, very much as an emphasis, and that's our infrastructure. People continue to talk about we need to build more, we need to do this and that. It's great to have new things, but our infrastructure needs to be addressed. As far as the communication between the county and the city, that does need to be improved. However, we actually have different needs and desires. Even though we're working together and have similar things that we work on together, we don't have the same needs, and we have to kind of find that common ground and figure out how to get along.
Thank you, Merv. For answering the question, please outline what you feel are the two most pressing issues facing the city. And next will be Kevin. Kevin Esker.
Housing again, I'm sure it's on everybody's mind because the department that I work in, there's 15 people, 2 people live in the city. Most of them live all south of town, and it's got to do with the price of housing. A $150,000 to $200,000 house is going to cost you anywhere between $1,200 a month. I don't think there's a lot of employees out there that can afford $1,200 a month to live in a $150,000 house. Once you put the payment, the insurance, the property tax, and everything else, I know you're going to have over $1,200. Yeah, another thing, and I'm not going to go to the county because I guess we beat that horse enough, but the other one would be the parking in downtown. We want downtown to grow, but at the same time, we're running out of places for people to park. And I don't know if it's to get more city parking lots, if we could buy more property at a really reasonable price. Could be a good opportunity.
Thank you, Kevin. And Don?
Well, I'm about in the same boat as Kevin did about housing and stuff. I think we really need to look at that, and I think we do look at that real hard. But I think another thing needs to be corrected is Fayette Avenue. I think it's a disgrace. It's been 30 years now. I think it's been about trying to get Fayette done, and I think we need to go to the state and put a lot of pressure on them and get that done. Also, the Southern Interchange, I've been pushing hard for that. And people, how that will affect the whole southern region of the town, plus Diedrich, Bishop, Watson, all the whole area down there. It would help the whole southern and get the trucks out of the middle of downtown, and it would just really help. But I know we got a big uphill battle on that, but I think that would really help the city, that and Fayette.
Thank you, Don. And we'll move down here to Kevin.
2 things, right?
2 things.
It's been a while since.
It's been a while. We're answering the question. Please outline what you feel are the 2 most pressing issues facing the city.
I think it's the same issues that you can say is a day-to-day, and that's economical growth, trying to get new business in, or maintaining or attaining or keeping the ones we have already here. I think that's a continuous day-to-day issue or problem that we face. I think another one is, to be honest, I think Effingham's a great place to live, so I'm nitpicking here kind of thing, I think one of the biggest problems that we need to look at, and I think it's the little sign outside of Effingham that says 13,000 some odd people, and we all know that this community is bigger than that, and I think that keeps a lot of maybe industry away and even other businesses away. So annexing property, I think, is something that we need to look at a little bit further. And I know we have. It's government. It's a slow-moving wheel, but it does keep moving.
Thank you. That was Kevin Willis finishing up our second question. And moving on to our third question that will be led off by Libby Mueller. In your view, what is the role of city government? Libby?
My view of city government as commissioner on city council is being the go-between between the experts that we hire that work for the city, because we have amazing talent in all our departments. And I'm always amazed at their abilities of what they can do, from the police department to the fire department to the water department to every department. And so I think my role would be bridging what they do and what they're expert at to what the taxpayers and the citizens want and what they want to be done with their tax dollars.
Thank you, Libby. Jane?
Repeat that one more time.
The question is, in your view, what is the role of city government?
I think the city council must be fiscally responsible, number one, for the tax dollars of our citizens. We have to make the best use of those tax dollars. We have to prioritize our projects. We can't change the budget on a whim, because something else has come up or some citizen is wanting something else. We have to make the best use of our tax dollars and at the same time improving the looks of our community, our economic development. We have to do everything with that money, the most that we can. So that's it.
Thank you, Jane. And Larry?
I think the role of commissioners and the mayor is that you're really hired by the citizens. They're the people that put you in office, so you're the link with the community. You're the person that they see out and about, and they can communicate with you. And I think we've been blessed in this city with visionary leaders and a can-do attitude. If you look back to 70 years ago when our hospital burned down, the next morning the leaders of the city were getting together to figure out how to rebuild the hospital, and they also addressed the shortage of water that went to fight the fire that night, so Lake Sarah came about as a result of that. And I also reflected earlier on the railroads. When I came to town 40 years ago, you couldn't get anywhere around town without multiple train stoppings, and in a process of the can-do attitude and probably about $30 million, we built over and underpasses, and you can fairly easily get around the town in spite of our trains.
Thank you, Larry. Merv?
I think it's our purpose to manage the city in such a way that our citizens feel safe, they have a place to work, they have places to eat, they have good roads to walk, to drive on, sidewalks to walk on, and that they are secure in their homes.
Thank you, Merv. Kevin, we're answering the question. In your view, what is the role of city government?
The role of city government to me is being able to speak what you think the people are telling you and relay that on to the policies and what the city is trying to get done, or how to help them out. I see yourself as a representative of the citizens, so you need to listen to them.
Thank you, Kevin. And Don?
I think representing the citizens of the city of Effingham is very important, and I ask a lot of questions. I question a lot of stuff at city council meetings. I vote against a lot of stuff because I don't feel it's right on some of the stuff that's brought up and what the completion is, because a lot of times the council is not even involved in coming to that how it gets there, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to make $1 million question answered. And I just feel that I've done a good job at that, and I think I represent the people real well.
Thank you, Don. And we'll come down here to the other end of the table, and Kevin Willis will answer, in your view, what is the role of city government?
I agree with most of what they said. We're representing the citizens of Effingham and trying to be responsible with their money. But I also believe that we give direction to the city administration, the city departments, in direction of which way we feel that they should go, things that they should be looking at, things that they should be doing.
Thank you, Kevin. And Hank?
I think simply stated, the role of any city government is to provide essential services: fire protection, police protection, streets, sewer, water, and certain basic amenities. But every city has that role, but what sets cities apart that can do it versus those that struggle are if the city has a strong economy, a strong economic base. And that's why in all my years I thought economic development really trumped everything else, because if you have a strong economy, strong sales tax revenues, strong strong property tax revenue, all those other problems that you're dealing with as a city are a lot easier to address than a city that's struggling. So the role is to take care of those basic needs. The way to get there is to make sure you have a strong economic base in the community.
Thank you, Hank. And our fourth question for the evening will be led off by Jane Miller. And that question is, during the previous 12 months, how many city council meetings have you attended in person or watched online? Jane?
Well, I retired last May from the city, and since that time, I have probably only missed 2, either watching online or being there. Prior to that, I'm not sure I really needed to be, because I actually worked there. I knew what was on the agenda. I knew what happened afterwards. But since then, I've become very interested, and I've tried to attend as many council meetings as I can. And if not, I've watched them online. If I don't get to watch them that evening, I go ahead and watch them the next day or, within the next week.
Thank you, Jane. Larry?
This is kind of an embarrassing question for me because I haven't been to a single city council meeting in the last year. I have stayed informed. I am a diligent reader of Greg's WXCF news site as well as the papers. And once you've been on the city council, it's kind of in your blood, and you really follow that stuff, even if it's from a distance. And quite frankly, that's what I did, watch it from a distance. I was still really interested in what was going on, but as far as attending a meeting, I really had no desire to do that.
Thank you, Larry. Merv?
I think that if I've missed 2 meetings in 1 year, that's unusual. I think the most I would have missed is maybe 1 meeting, and to be physically there, maybe not. But I talked to everyone I need to talk to prior to that meeting, and all our staff they're very good about keeping us informed, both before and after the council. So I am aware of what's going on when I miss those meetings.
Thank you, Merv. Kevin?
In the last 12 months, I've hit all 24. I haven't been sick or on a vacation or anything like that. But I do want to note, when I do attend the meetings, I print out the agenda, I look at the attachments, and I do go through all the information well before every meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Don?
I think I have missed 1 city council meeting in the last 12 months. Also, the meeting comes out on Thursday, and I sit down right away and look at it and do all the attachments and make sure I understand it. And I go up to City Hall and ask questions about it if I don't understand it. And I was very involved in the police department when we built that, about making it financially fiscable and stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Don. Kevin?
I think I've been to every one of them. I may have missed 1. I've been to every one of them.
Okay. Hank?
So I'm going to answer what I want to answer. For 23 years, I hardly missed any. But I've probably been to 1 or 2 in the last year when there's certain things going on. But kind of as Larry alluded to, if I listen to Greg the next morning, it's as good as being there. So.
Thank you, Hank. Libby?
As far as city council, I watch all of them online, and then I am on Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm on City Plan Commission. I think I've only missed 1 of each of those, if I can think correctly, but my last term. And I've definitely spread the message for the system that we have to watch that live and how they're archived. A lot of people don't know that in the city, and that's something I've been trying to spread the message on, and they're very pleased to hear it and see it.
Thank you, Libby. And I think this is a great time to recognize our current and those running 24 meetings a year, and having to prepare for those meetings and make sure you're aware of the issues. It's a lot of information to go through, so thank you to all of you for your commitment to that. Our 5th question is going to be led off by Larry. And that question is, do you support providing financial incentives for new and existing businesses seeking to grow and locate in Effingham? And please explain your answer.
First of all, the staff at City Hall does an incredible job with recruiting business and incentives. from the outside looking in, it looks like it's a handout, but if you don't play the game, you're not going to get the people to come to your town and be interested in. And economic development is crucial to our city, and Todd and Sasha and Steve and all the folks there at City Hall, they work real hard at getting packages together to get people to come to our town. And I remember when I served on the council that was job number one at City Hall was economic development, and we worked very, very, very diligently at that task.
Thank you, Larry. Merv?
When we talk about incentives, it sounds like we're just giving people money. And to a certain extent we are, but we always get something in return. We always make sure that we're not just giving that money and letting them walk away. We make sure that sometimes we have what we call clawbacks. If you do not agree and do not fulfill what we've asked you to do by providing so many jobs, you can't just come in here and build the building and walk away from it. You have to provide those jobs. If you don't, you're going to give some money back to us. So yes, I am for it when we have to.
Thank you, Merv. Kevin?
Yes, I definitely support new business and existing businesses, but I do think the staff does a really good job and they've done a better job as of late